President Trump says he hopes China can help end the Russia-Ukraine war ahead of his meeting with Xi Jinping this week. But Trump also says he's assessing the Russian threat after President Vladimir Putin and his top general claim they successfully tested a nuclear-powered cruise missile.
They're not playing games with us. We're not playing games with them either. We test missiles all the time, and I don't think it's an appropriate thing for Putin to be saying either, by the way. You ought to get the war ended. A war that should have taken 1 week is now in its soon 4th year. That's what you ought to do instead of testing missiles.
Former CIA Station Chief Dan Hoffman joins us now. Dan, how big of a deal is this, and what impact will it have?
Well, I think it's worth remembering that China and Russia signed their no-limit strategic partnership back in February of 2022. There's really three components there. First, an ideological one. Both Putin and Xi are ruthless dictators, and so they see eye to eye on how to run their countries internally and aggressively overseas. There's an economic component because Russia needs to import dual-use military technology from China to keep their army supplied with what they need to carry on their invasion of Ukraine. And Russia exports hydrocarbons to China, which is really important for China's economy. And then there's a strategic component where both Russia and China want to limit the United States' ability to project power overseas. For Russia, obviously, that means in Europe, and for China in the Pacific. I think what President Trump might be doing here is exposing China's support to Russia, using it as leverage. I'm not sure the president expects China to do anything to help solve this conflict, but he's countering China's rationale for an attack on Taiwan, and he's again exposing China's nefarious support to this war. And I think that's a good thing for the trade negotiations.
As you look at the right-hand side of your screen, any moment now we are waiting for President Trump to be greeted by the Emperor of Japan. But I want to go back to the missile that Russia is bragging about. Do you believe the hype coming out of the Kremlin about this nuclear-powered missile? And if so, should we be concerned here in the U.S., not just for the warhead part of it, Dan, which obviously would cause a nuclear catastrophe, but also the fact that it is nuclear powered. And oftentimes, mistakes happen, problems happen, and there could be ultimately fallout, no pun intended.
Yeah, I think that absolutely we have to be concerned. I expect that the U.S. intelligence community is seeking to collect as much intelligence on this new threat as we can, and on our defense circles as well. Look, absolutely, this is of concern to us. It's a Russian effort to demonstrate their power, to extort us and our European allies. And so absolutely, it's a real intelligence requirement for us. I can tell you, going back to my days at CIA, collecting on Soviet and then later Russian military capabilities was of the highest priority.
All right, Dan, we just saw the Japanese emperor, exit the Imperial Palace, and he's waiting to greet President Trump. We see the motorcade pulling up, and President Trump is just about to get out of the vehicle and shake the emperor's hand. What do you think about this moment and President Trump's trip to Japan overall and the significance of it in light of the fact that he is going to be meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping in just a few days from now?
Yeah, I think it's a really powerful image, and this is a demonstration of presidential power. When the president travels overseas and meets with our most important adversaries like China, as well as our key allies like Japan, it's a powerful demonstration of the power that our country holds in the world. The president is making an extraordinary trip here and hitting on all the key issues, the key national security issues for our nation. Japan is such a critical ally in the Pacific. We've got extraordinarily close economic ties, and we rely on one another to deter China from aggressive action in the region. And so this is this is a really important image and important for the president that he's getting out and making another trip. It's a whirlwind tour.
There will be no cameras inside as the president meets the emperor and they discuss whatever they're going to discuss. So we're going to move on to other issues. Specifically, we have this situation which I can't seem to get past, Dan, and I would like your thoughts on it. How tough is it diplomatically to need your number one adversary, in this case, China, to help you end a war involving what arguably is your number two adversary in Russia? How do you square that circle, Dan?
Yeah, I think the president understands that that circle isn't going to be squared. But I really believe the president understands that highlighting China's role in supporting the most destructive land war in Europe is of benefit to the United States, because one thing we're trying to do is drive a wedge between Europe and China. Europe relies on China for their trade, and China's been taking advantage of them. I think that by exposing China's role in this war, we can help Europe help remove the scales from the eyes of European leaders and understand that they need a little bit more of a realistic strategy towards China. I think that's important going forward. I'm not sure that anyone believes that China is going to back away from their support for their extremely close ally, Russia, at this time.
Yeah, and because of China, Japan really relies on the United States as a security guarantor, so they are going to be rolling out the red carpet for President Trump, and President Trump's meeting with the emperor is part of that five-star treatment. Former CIA station chief Dan Hoffman, we thank you for joining us this morning.